welcome to another writing vlog. In this vlog, I'm going to be starting draft 4 of Project Lily. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and I'm writing my very first book, which is Project Lily, and I have been taking a writing break for a little over a month now. I let my book sit for a while, then I did revisions on it, and now it's time to get back into writing. The revision process was long, but it was good, and I'm really happy with all of the changes and corrections I've made, and I'm ready to go into draft 4. Because it's been a while since I've sat down to write, I will ease into it. So I'm dedicating the evening to writing, but I'm not gonna write the whole evening. I don't wanna burn myself out and write like 3 or 4 hours. So I'm just going to write a little bit here and there. Bridgerton actually premieres today and I wanna watch that as well. So I'll be kind of writing and then watching Bridgerton and writing and maybe watching more Bridgerton. It's a good way for me to kind of ease into it because I believe that this draft will take much longer than previous drafts just because I'm going to work really, really hard on it. I'm looking forward to get back into writing. I've got a lot of things prepared that hopefully will set me up for success. I've got a plot grid, I've got chapter outlines, and I'm basically ready to go. This vlog's gonna go over a few days, so you can see me write the first 1 to 2, maybe 3 chapters of my book. I'm gonna start writing my book after dinner when it's dark, so I can truly get into my evening writing routine that I typically do when I write. It is a little bit before dinner time. I wanted to record while I had some sunlight, but I will start writing very shortly once the sun goes down and I've had my dinner and all I have left to do is write. It was so nice to get back into a writing routine. It has been several weeks since I've written. I've just been so busy with revisions of my novel, and then I also took a break before that, and I missed writing. I was also really happy to start writing a new draft. I always love when I start a new draft. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to what I'm writing. I'm always in a really good mood, and that just carried on throughout the night. I continued working on my puzzle, which I'm making really great progress on, I think. And I made some cookies and sat down to watch Bridgerton. I really wanted to enjoy my evening and not stress about writing and just incorporate it into fun activities that I did throughout the night. Well, I didn't get much done last night because I wanted to watch 2 episodes of Bridgerton instead of write my book, and that's okay. I did write about 500 words of chapter 1, so that's pretty good, but I decided to just take a break and have fun instead of write. One thing I've struggled with recently over the last few months is not necessarily balance, but just spending time to relax and enjoy myself. I've been putting so much energy and effort into writing, and that's been my first priority, that I've kind of neglected myself a little bit. So as I move into draft 4, I want to change that and see how that works out for me. Instead of writing for hours every day, I'm going to kind of take a small step back and plan out my time better. I'm still going to have dedicated writing time every day, but it's going to be a little less than it was before. So that way I can fit in other activities such as exercise and reading and anything else I want to go do. I'm hoping that by taking breaks and relaxing a little bit on a day-to-day basis, that when I sit down to write, I will have a lot more energy and I'll be more focused. That's my hope anyway, and we'll see if that happens during this next draft, but it's something I'm changing going into this draft. And today is actually going to be a repeat of yesterday. This might end up being a vlog of just me trying to finish chapter 1. I woke up with the intention of working on my book all day, but very early on in the morning, I realized I still had to finish editing a YouTube video. And so I spent the morning working on that. I also had some personal things I had to take care of that were quite urgent. And then I worked on my YouTube video some more this afternoon. So I haven't had time to write all day. And it's almost dinner time. I have to make dinner time. And usually when I make dinner, those nights have less writing time. And I want to watch the last 2 episodes of Bridgerton tonight, so I don't think I'm going to have much time to write. My goal is to write for another half hour to hour, depending on how much time I have between dinner and watching Bridgerton. And I'm just going to continue writing chapter 1. Even though it's going to be a short writing session tonight, I will make some progress, and I will be back at this tomorrow. I will dedicate more time to this tomorrow. It's going to be -3 when I wake up tomorrow, so I'm not going to leave my house. I'm just going to stay inside. and it's gonna be the perfect day to write. But at least for tonight, I'm excited for another low-key writing / Bridgerton night. Tonight's dinner is lasagna soup. This has quickly become a go-to for cooking. It's very easy, it's fast, there's not a lot of ingredients, and especially on a writing night, I don't like to take a ton of time to cook, so this was a really good recipe for me to make on a writing night. I've been trying to cook more because when I write, I tend to lose track of time, and then also I don't want to spend a bunch of time cooking. So one thing I'm trying to do as I move into draft 4 is cooking more and making sure I have really good, comforting, nutritious food to help fuel me while I write. And after I made my lasagna soup, I repeated my writing routine from the night before. I finished up Bridgerton and I continued to work on chapter 1 of draft 4. It was a really pleasant evening and I was so glad I took time for myself in between writing. I got another 500 words last night. I was very happy with that progress. And today is the day where I actually sit down and force myself to write a little more than 500 words. I'm going to do an hour-long sprint this afternoon and at least an hour-long sprint tonight, maybe more. My goal is to make a lot of progress on this chapter. I probably won't finish it today. If I do finish it, it's going to be in the sense that I've gone through all the words in chapter 1, but because this is draft 4 and I have a bunch of revisions to make, I need to go through the chapter and just make sure I've done every single thing that I needed to do. There's likely going to be a little bit of addition and deletion and rewording of things, and that's just how I'm going to do this draft because it's really important for me to include every piece of plot information and every piece of character information, so that way that part of the story is done when draft 4 is done. I am going to spend the afternoon at my desk. I have found that I tend to be quite productive at my desk, and I think it's because I am less comfortable. You know, I'm not saying this chair is uncomfortable, but when I'm sitting on a couch, I just want to relax and enjoy myself. And I find it maybe a little hard to get in the mood of writing, whereas if I'm at my desk, I feel like I need to work. And so I'll sit here and just type out a bunch of words or do whatever I'm working on. This is another part of my trying things differently for draft 4, and that is going to be writing at my desk more. I honestly, the last time I wrote my draft at a desk consistently, I think was the very beginning of draft 1. Which was at this point a year ago. I'm hoping that by changing up my writing locations, I can be a lot more productive. I also think it will help to have my second monitor here because last night I was flipping back and forth between my plot grid, my chapter outlines, and my document. And it just was a little cumbersome to have to switch through all these windows and I couldn't see everything at once. With my monitor, I'll be able to put my plot grid and my outlines on one page and have my document on another page. And I think it'll just be a lot easier for me to switch back and forth between the two places, and it'll save me a little bit of time. I am excited to have a little writing session at my desk. I'm going to play my music. I have my speaker here so I can play it out loud. And I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, and then I'm going to settle in and write. Can't believe it. I actually finished chapter 1 tonight. It was not expected. I wrote for about an hour this afternoon and an hour this evening, and it's finished. I wrote 1,300 words today, which brings the total for chapter 1 to about 2,300 words. There is a reason I finished a lot earlier than I thought, and it's because I ended up dividing up chapter 1 into 2 chapters. Maybe that's cheating a little bit. For the last week or so, as I was doing chapter outlines and revisions, I played around with the idea of dividing up chapter 1 simply because it was kind of long for a first chapter, and it was composed of 2 scenes. So it had some stuff happening in one place and some stuff happening in another place. And it was slightly disjointed, but it did make sense to have it all together. But during revisions, I realized I had left some important things out, like world building, and I thought of a way to include the world building, which made me change how my chapter opened. So I had to rewrite the beginning of my book and put in all this new stuff, and as a result, more stuff got added. And I kept the second half of chapter 1 at the bottom of my document just so I could see how long the word count was. And when I finished that first scene in chapter 1, the word count was like 4,500, which is way too long for a first chapter. That kind of solidified my belief that I needed to break this chapter up into 2 chapters, and that's what I ended up doing. I'm not really worried about adding a new chapter in this draft because I actually ended up deleting chapter 2 from draft 3. So I'm already down a chapter, which means I'll now gain a chapter. So I'm net chapter neutral, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's getting a little late and I'm starting to make words up, I think. But you get what I'm saying. I took a chapter away, I added a chapter, so everything's kind of the same. But I am not done completely with chapter 1, even though I finished writing it and I have what I consider to be a complete chapter. I'm going to look through my chapter outline and through my plot grid and make sure I have every piece of information that I need to have in there. I did review these from time to time while I was writing the chapter, and I already found stuff that I forgot to include. And I kind of knew this was going to happen, which is why I made the outline and the plot grid, so that way I would document this stuff and I would see it and remember to put it in. And that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to do another pass at chapter 1 and make sure I have all those important things in. I think this will cause me to do a little bit of rewriting as well, just because if I forget to put it in, I've got to figure out a way to put it in, and it might change what the characters are saying, or it might change the narration of the novel, and I'm just going to have to work through that. So that will be tomorrow's task. I'm going to take the rest of the night off. There's not much of the night left anyway, but I'm going to take the rest of the night off and I will get back to work on chapter 1 tomorrow. It took me quite a bit of time to do this step of the process. I'm not used to going back and revising and rewriting constantly. Typically when I write a draft, I write a chapter and I'm done. Maybe I'll go back and reread it and make a little tweak here and there, but that's usually about it. With this draft, I'm going through and comparing the chapter to my chapter outline and comparing it to the plot grid, and this takes a lot of time. And then for everything that I didn't mention in the chapter that was in my outline and plot grid, I then had to rewrite it, and that was hard because I had to find where to put it in the chapter, reword dialogue, reword description, and really figure out how to squeeze more information inside of already a bunch of information. Even though it was a lot of hard work, it was extremely useful, and I think this was a really good exercise for me and a really good way to improve draft 4. Hopefully this sounds okay. I am using a new mic and I didn't want to use it for the beginning of this video and have poor audio quality. I chose to try it out at the end because only about 33% of you are watching at this point, so let me know how it sounds. But chapter 1 is done and I absolutely love it. For most of the day today, I've been going through my chapter outlines and my plot grid and just making sure to incorporate all of those things that I left out. When I start writing, I just get in the zone and I get in a flow state, and I don't always take the time to look at my outlines or my plot grid. And that's okay with me because I don't want to interrupt my writing flow every 5 seconds to check and make sure I've got everything. So I'd much rather go in after I'm finished writing the chapter and weave in any details that I missed. It ended up working out really well. I feel like this is the best chapter 1 I've had yet. I really like the new direction I went in the beginning of it. I like that I shortened it a little bit, and shortening it allowed me to put in all these details that I've missed, and I think my chapter is a lot better for it. After I did go through and make additions to chapter 1 based on my outline and plot grid, I did update my outline and plot grid as well. Now both of those are up to date with the first chapter. I already know this will help me later on down the road when I have to refer to something later in the book and refer something I said earlier. I'll be able to find it really easily. If I decide to change things, I'll know exactly where the things are that needs changing. So far, I'm really happy with my approach at kind of documenting everything and being more of a plotter this time around. I still don't think I'm necessarily more of a plotter. I just like to think of it as more organized. So far, writing chapter 1 was a lot easier, and I'm really hoping that this continues into the rest of draft 4. I'll just say that if the rest of the book goes as well as chapter 1 did, I'm really looking forward to my finished product of draft 4. It was interesting that this approach also takes a lot more time than previous drafts have. It took me 4 days to do chapter 1 in its entirety, and usually I can knock out a chapter in 1 day. I'm just really taking my time with it and making sure that I do things right, and I think this will pay off in the long run. I'll be interested to see if it takes 4 days for me to do a chapter for the rest of draft 4. I'm kind of hoping it doesn't. I hope I can shorten this a little bit, maybe get down to like 2 to 3 days per chapter. But as I've said before, my goal for draft 4 is to make this monumentally better than previous drafts. So if I have to take more time to make it better, then I will. But no matter how long it took, it's a huge accomplishment for me to finish chapter 1. I'm really happy at how it is. It's a wonderful chapter. Even as I was rereading it and revising it today, I was so much happier with it. And I was just smiling, and I was just thinking to myself, yes, this is the way it's got to be. And yes, this dialogue is good. And yes, this description is good. Of course, it's not perfect. And I already saw areas for improvement, especially in the prose. But that's not my focus for this draft. My focus is to make sure I have all the information and my characters are a little bit more developed. So chapter 1 is done, and that means it's on to chapter 2. I'm feeling really good about this, and I'm going to try and continue this momentum into chapters 2 and beyond. And I'll see you in the next writing vlog.